Okay, so in the last video we made this. This is the case for the board game. And in this video we're going to be dealing with the electronics. Okay, so the parts for this are LEDs. There's three yellow, green, blue and red. The buttons. These buttons that I salvaged in a past video, the salvaging skybox video. An Arduino Nano and various resistors and some NPN transistors. We're going to be soldering all of these onto Breadboard, but first we're going to start by testing the circuit on a breadboard. Now, when prototyping circuits, some people like to use these things. These are breadboards, and what they do is you get your component and you just put it into the holes, and they're all connected, and you can make your circuits that way. However, I use a different approach. This way I think is a lot more effective. So you throw all of your components into a bucket, along with some wire, mix it with the screwdriver, and leave it sit for 10 minutes. Yep, it's ready. And there we go. Much easier. There's our circuit complete on a breadboard. And everything's ready to go. Next thing we've got to do is just put a test program on this and make sure it works. Then it'll be onto the final form on this Breadboard. Okay, over to the computer.
Okay, so here, this is the program that I wrote just to make sure that I built the circuit correctly. Okay, so the first thing up here in Void Setup, all we have is just, this is a quicker way of setting all of the pins necessary to be outputs. So what this does is it creates a variable which is called pin, and then it checks is pin less than 13, and if it is, it increases it by 1, and then after that it will set whatever pin is to an output. And the same thing down here, they're just two separate sets of pins. Okay, now down here in void loop, we've set delay equal to 100. We initialized it up here. The first thing that happens is another for loop where it sets a load of pins to high. It sets pin 10, 11, and 12 to be high. After that, we've got a while statement. This again is just going to be going on forever because it says true. Basically, this is just going to go and repeat and repeat and repeat, never ending. And inside that, there's another for loop. I really have a lot of them used today. This one is just increasing pin 1 by 1 each time, and then it's writing that pin high and then low again, and delaying by whatever delay we've set here. And that's really it. Okay, so what I've got to do now is go Control U and upload. This is the program that I wrote just to make sure that I built the circuit correctly. Okay, so the first thing up here in Void Setup, all we have is just, this is a quicker way of setting all of the pins necessary to be outputs. So what this does is it creates a variable which is called pin, and then it checks is pin less than 13, and if it is, it increases it by 1, and then after that it will set whatever pin is to an output. And the same thing down here, they're just two separate sets of pins. Okay, now down here in void loop, we've set delay equal to 100. We initialized it up here. The first thing that happens is another for loop where it sets a load of pins to high. It sets pin.
Okay, now we've uploaded the code to the Arduino, and as you can see, the LEDs are blinking one after another. This is exactly what we programmed them to do, and we can clearly see that they are blinking one set after another. However, if I decrease the delay and re-upload the code, they appear to be all turned on. However, this is not the case because they are still programmed to turn on and off one after another. So instead, what we are seeing is them turning on and off one after another so quickly that your eyes perceive them as all being on. This is what we're going to be using in the board game to allow us to control multiple LEDs with as few pins as possible. The next step from this now is to solder this circuit onto some Breadboard. Okay, now it's time to start soldering. Not much to it really. Just get your soldering iron and your solder, and there you go. I might do a tutorial on how to solder in the future, but not right now. Okay, there is the Arduino soldered on. You can see I messed up a bit down here. It kind of bridged across, and I did manage to separate it, but it doesn't look great. It's fixed now though. Okay, the next thing is to do all of these resistors. I'm just going to bend the leads upwards so that I can solder them properly. Okay, there are all of the resistors soldered. Now I just have to cut them off, or cut off the excess. There we go. Last thing to do are the wires for the transistors and the transistors themselves. It's a bit messy up there, as you can see, so I'll have to be careful that I don't bridge anything.